I was told college football is about tradition, development, and earning your spot. What we're watching now is something completely different. This year's college football playoff, the transfer portal, and NIL spending, it all proves one thing. College football has become a pay-to-compete system, and it's not slowing down. In the video, I'll be talking about the transfer portal, NIL and roster spending, and why the richest teams keep winning and what this means for the future of the sport. I might be in the minority, but this is the reality. And this year's college football playoff proves it. The 12-team college football playoff includes 4 of the biggest football budgets, 2 of the highest paid head coaches, and 3 of the 4 highest paid general managers. Half the playoff field ranked top 14 nationally in football revenue. Texas alone brings in over $200 million in football revenue, Ohio State $160 million, Alabama nearly $80 million in expenses last year. Now compare that to schools like Tulane or James Madison operating closer to 20 to 25 million, sometimes less. That gap isn't strategy. That gap is survival versus dominance. Now let's look at what coaches in the college football playoff are making. Kirby Smart is making $13.3 million. Ryan Day made $12.6 million, and Dan Lanning $10.4 million. Now compare that to the group of 5 coaches making under $1 million. Here's a wild stat. Oregon's head football coach makes more than James Madison's entire football operating budget. That's not competitive balance. That's 2 different sports. At the Power 4 level, roster budgets range from $13 million to over $30 million. Texas Tech openly admitted to spending $25 million on its roster, and they just signed Sorsby for $5 million for 1 year. They're also spending who knows what on the other guys they're getting in the portal, which, I mean, they can because nobody's stopping them. But I think there's got to be some kind of salary cap or something in there that allows the playoff to be more competitive, especially if you're going to allow group of 5 schools in. No offense to Tulane or James Madison, but I just said they don't operate or make the same that schools like Texas Tech have or Ohio State. They don't have the donors giving them $40 million for a roster for 1 year. I mean, it's just crazy that college football is the way it is, and I'm absolutely all for the players getting paid. I think that's the best. They deserve it. They spend all their time focusing on this sport and doing that. They're also there for school, which, I mean, is a part of it too, but it makes sense that they're now allowed to be paid. I just think that there needs to be a salary cap to make it more competitive and make the playoff more balanced and competitive. And again, I might be in the minority in thinking that, and I could be wrong, and that's fine. If you think I'm wrong, great. Please tell me why you think I'm wrong and why the Power 4 schools should be able to spend over $30 million building a roster, and James Madison doesn't even operate at that much money. So, I think it's crazy that James Madison total revenue sharing budget is about $1 million. And then Tulane's NIL collective once reported under $1 million. That's a huge gap. That gap explains why the same programs keep showing up in January. I think, if there should be a salary cap, and I think eventually we'll get to that point where there is a salary cap and how much teams can spend on their roster or different things like that with different positions, which I'm going to go through here in a moment. But in my opinion, it's just crazy how much these teams are spending. And, I get it because they operate at a way higher budget and they have donors giving them the money. And, there's nobody saying you can't spend 30 plus million on your roster. So go ahead. But I think college football has a major problem, and I think that's part of the problem. Now we're going to talk about what it actually costs to get these guys from the portal. So, according to The Athletic, this is what transfers are commanding. Quarterbacks, the floor is a million. Top quarterbacks, 4 to 5 million. And one quarterback signed a 2 year, $7.5 million deal, which is just, that's more than some rookie quarterbacks in the NFL are making. So it's just crazy that, these guys are making this kind of money. But again, I'm all for the players being paid. They bring in all this money to the schools. It's about time that they are paid what, they deserve. But it's just wild that a quarterback signed a $7.5 million deal for 2 years to be in college. That's just fucking crazy. That's nuts. If you don't spend $1 million, then you're not getting a quarterback. That's pretty much how it goes now. You have to spend money to get a quarterback and any other position. That's just the way it is. Offensive tackles, 600,000 to 1.3 million. Edge rushers, 500,000 to $2+ million. Receivers, 500,000 to $1 million plus. An elite receiver gonna cost you like $2 million. Meanwhile, group of 5 schools, quarterbacks top out around 5 to 600,000, and most players make 5 figures. Same portal, completely different realities. So again, we're talking about Division I college football, just different schools being able to spend different amounts of money. I don't know how they could make a salary cap work, especially with teams like Ohio State or Texas Tech that just, have a bunch of donors that are just giving the schools money to spend on the roster. But I think there's got to be a way to figure out how to make a salary cap work for the schools and to make college football more competitive. I don't know how that'll work, but I think we're going to figure that out here soon. Now we're going to talk about the new transfer portal. It's a new thing, a 15-day free agency chaotic sprint to get, all the guys in the portal. And if it sounds chaotic, it's because it is. It's just wild. This season has been wild. There were so many players that entered this transfer portal before it even opened, which was crazy. CBS Sports reported that on day one of the new transfer portal window, more than 3,700 Division I scholarship players entered the portal on day one, not a season, not a month, on day one. Behind the scenes, portal boards were set months ago. So it's just, teams are already looking at guys who might enter the portal, who they want to go after. Agents were already negotiating with schools, which is crazy. Just think about how, the NFL free agency, it's just like one select time, not during the playoffs like right now, which is crazy to think about. Teams currently in the playoffs have to not only try to keep their guys from transferring while trying to win in the playoffs, but they also have to try to add while they're in the playoffs, which is I mean, it's crazy. Imagine if the NFL did that right now during the playoffs. They're like, okay, free agency's open. While you're trying to go on this playoff run, you're trying to keep your team that you have currently and then also add. It's just, I don't know. They got to figure out again how do they make that work? Like, do it in February for 2 weeks or something. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense that you open it up right away in January when the playoffs are going, and teams like Iowa State. I get it, your coach leaves. Iowa State doesn't even have a full roster. So I mean, it's like you lose all your team right when the portal opens. Again, I get it. You're allowed to transfer if your coach leaves. That's fair. That's fine. That's the way it should be. But I mean, teams in the playoffs, like I saw Ole Miss's quarterback re-signed or decided to stay with Ole Miss while they just beat Georgia, and while they're competing in the playoffs, he's like, "Yep, I decided to stay at Ole Miss because whatever the reason was, I don't know." But again, it's just crazy that they decided January when the playoffs were going, that's the best time. You have 3,700 players enter the portal. That's more players in the portal than active in the NFL. It's crazy. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And again, that's part of the reason why that's part of the problem of college football. I love college football. I'm a very passionate fan of college football, and I think it's great that they pay the players and they allow players to transfer. Um, I think there might be a problem with players transferring to different teams like one year after another, and they get redshirted, so they transfer, and then they have an extra year of ability or eligibility, so they transfer, and it's crazy. I think they need a salary cap. They need to limit the amount of times that players are allowed to transfer, or you have to stay with the team for your first 2 seasons, and then you can transfer. There's no loyalty anymore in college football. I was blown away. A receiver from Texas transferred to Oklahoma. I mean, I'm not a fan of either of those schools, and it hurts me to see that a guy would transfer from Texas to Oklahoma. I mean, that's one of the biggest rivalries in college football, and it doesn't mean anything because he just took the money. And again, I get it. I would take the money too, but still, I mean, I don't know. That's his own choice. That's fine. It's fair. You're allowed to transfer wherever you want. It's just crazy. Like the loyalty anymore is just not there. I saw a donor from Colorado said something about, you pay the players and then they take the money and then the next year they're just gone. So he's not donating anymore until they show that they're going to stay there. Again, that's a fair statement. I mean, you commit to a team, but you're there a year and then you're gone. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. I think, again, college football has got to figure out, uh, you commit to this school, you're going to stay here 2 years, and then you still have 2 years of eligibility or, something like that. A salary cap and a contract needs to be in place for college football, college sports, just in general. Because even in basketball, it's the same way. Guys transfer 4 times, and then they've been in college for like 7 years. But that's besides the point. It's crazy the number of players that entered the transfer portal this season. It's just a 15-day free for all, trying to keep your current roster and also adding to your current roster. I can imagine that's just crazy to try to deal with while you're trying to, compete in the playoffs. It's it's madness, honestly. It's madness. It's fucking crazy. Okay, so sticking with the portal here, the NCAA tried to fix the portal by condensing it to 15 days, eliminating the spring window, and changing the rules around coaching changes. The result, uh, chaos and compressed. Everything happens faster, and when things move faster, money wins. Obviously, that's the way it goes. Like, look at Texas Tech. They've signed a lot of big name players because they have the donors and they have the money. So that's just the way it goes. Um, Programs with GMs, agents, eight-figure budgets, they thrive. Everyone scrambles. Again, this is going back to a salary cap or something like that to make it less chaotic. It's fun to watch, but also at the same time, it's just crazy. Those group of five schools, they don't really stand a chance when competing with, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas Tech, Alabama, Ohio State, all those schools, who are constantly in the college football playoff because they have the donors and the money to get them there. Um, this is my take. I think, you need players to sign a contract to stay there for 2 years at a school when they first commit. And then they need to have the transfer portal be after the college football playoff in the spring. Have it be 3 weeks long or whatever, have it be longer than that. But something has to be fixed here because the way this is, it's just not working. This is free agency without guardrails. I mean, the NFL has the salary cap, contracts, tampering rules. College football doesn't have any of that. Guys can be reached out to by schools during the season, and then, that's when you see a player entered the portal with the no contact tag. I mean, he already knows where he's going. They already have the deal written up. No, so it's done. Other schools don't even get a chance. I think just personally, to make the college football playoff more competitive, you need a salary cap contract and tampering rules. That's just my take. Please drop your comments down in the comment section. But, I'm not saying players shouldn't get paid. I think, again, if you go back, I think they deserve to get paid. They absolutely deserve it because they bring in all the money for the schools. So it'd be crazy if they didn't. But let's stop pretending that this is balance, honestly. It's not. The group of five schools, they don't stand a chance. I know Boise State had a nice run last year in the playoff, but still, again, I mean, they had Genty, and he probably deserved to be at a different school, and I'm sure schools reached out to him. It's not fun to watch anymore. Truthfully, it's just crazy. I love college football, and I love watching it, but just the way it is now, I mean, you sign a 5-star and then he plays for one season and then the next season he's gone. So, I mean, why? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know. The schools with the most money are going to win every single time. And what's great about this playoff is we have Indiana, and they haven't really gotten in the playoff or had a bunch of success before, so it's something different besides Alabama and Clemson and schools like that. But Mark Cuban said he's going to donate money to NIL for Indiana, so I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of them. But I think if we can get the salary cap, contract, and tampering rules in college football, I think college football will be much more, it'd be better. The transfer portal will be less chaotic. Group of 5 schools will have more of a chance, and then the playoff would be more competitive. That's my take. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.